Well, here we are. We are recording here directly in front of a still.
Yes.
This is pretty badass.
Yeah, this is probably the coolest looking one I've ever seen. It's cool, too, because you said you had just cleaned the part on
the condenser.
The right-hand side. Yeah, the condenser.
Yep.
And this is actually going to look the same once you clean it.
Yeah, once we get it cleaned up. This is a pot still. There's several different types of stills. But once we get this thing cleaned up, it'll be shiny again. So we'd hope to get it done in time, but we're slackers sometimes. So we figured, hey, it doesn't matter. We're just, the whiskey's all that matters, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I was pretty disappointed, I'll be honest with you. When I came, I'm like, what is this garbage?
Nice.
You should have known we were
now
coming.
I owe you an extra whiskey, don't I?
If that's how we're going to play this, then yes, absolutely.
Nice. I love it.
No, when we came in, we were greeted. We came in a little bit early to get our stuff set up, and we were given some history lessons out here in the retail area, the lobbyists.
Yeah. I mean, it's
tasting area.
Yeah, I guess you call it tasting area. It's technically just our storefront. We're legally to sell here, not really in the right zone to have a full tasting room, so we can give little half ounce tasters to folks, that kind of thing. As I mentioned to you earlier, when we opened up back in 2014, there wasn't even a craft distiller's license in the state of Arizona. So that's kind of why we're in this industrial area. We could eventually maybe get a conditional use permit and have something like that, but the end goal is to get something going either in town or somewhere down south, Sedona, Phoenix, or Tucson, one of the three. Ooh, so we'll see how it all goes. So
19th Avenue and Joe Max area.
No, yeah, okay. Is that right around the corner?
Right around the corner from Happy Valley area. Yeah, just throwing it out there. So,
well, it'd be cool too because we'll get into it more. But so much of your brand is built around kind of the area up here in northern Arizona and the history, which is really what makes it so special. So to bring that down into Phoenix, I think we would welcome you with open arms.
For sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. So,
hold on a second. We haven't even tried any of his stuff
That's
yet.
True. It's horrible.
Oh, man. We're holding out.
We got some tasters here. So we're going to get, what are we going to have? What are you going to give us, Joe, first?
Let's start with our kind of our signature. Kind of what brought us all together was this mesquite whiskey, the John Shaw. Dana Kanzler was the first distiller in the state of Arizona, and he had a brewery up here in Flagstaff, the Mogan Brewery, and then opened up the Arizona High Spirits Distillery. To accomplish that, he had written to the liquor board and asked permission to have a distillery, and the president at the time said, if you build a still, I'm going to come up there and destroy it, and there won't be distilleries in the state of Arizona.
Dang.
So
that sounds pretty aggressive.
Yeah. So I'm like, whoa, come on, man.
He needs a drink,
don't be a whiskey hater, man. But anyhow, him and his partners at the time, they went after it and got the legislators involved. And the very first, I believe it was the very first bill was passed in 2004. Just establishing the ability to produce liquor. Okay. And then you had to sell it to distributors. So so my business partner, Dana, he then proceeded to make the first whiskey, the first gin, the first vodka, and the first rum in the state of Arizona. So
that's really cool. We need to have
so is his legislation covering just the Flagstaff area or all of Arizona?
All of Arizona, yeah.
That's incredible.
So that opened up the door for everybody else. So
how was that? Sorry, real quick, guys. How was that in regard to the rest of the country? Like, was Arizona really behind, or is that pretty common for beyond Tennessee and places like that?
I don't know. I don't know like if they were the 10th state to allow distilling or the 30th. Okay. That I couldn't answer. But I know that around that time there were only a few hundred distilleries back in the late 90s, early 2000s
nationwide,
and now you've got thousands. Yeah. So I mean, it's just exploded over the last couple decades.
Sure,
so, but anyhow, getting back to that,
John Shaw.
Yeah, John Shaw. Dana is thought to be the first person ever to make a single malt whiskey using mesquite smoked malt. So this is, it was kind of he pioneered it, and we just kind of kept the legacy going by essentially getting him back on the horse and getting this distillery, Canyon Diablo, up and running. But this has just a subtle nose of the mesquite. It's not overwhelming. Just an incredibly smooth single malt, and it's a sipping whiskey. You could maybe put an ingredient or two in it, but it's kind of like Scotch. There's only a few drinks you make with Scotch. There's only a few drinks you want to make with an American single malt. So
For sure. Yeah, you're not mixing this. You're not putting a can of Coke in with this, right? Fill the glass with ice.
If you did, I'd want to re-educate you and maybe just slap that drink out of your hand. So.
It's got like a sweetness to it for sure.
Yeah.
Like one of the sweeter whiskeys I've tried that I'm recalling right now.
And that's going to come from that smoke. Mesquite just has a natural sweetness to it, which is why it's so incredibly popular for barbecuing. But it's also the malt we use is a really nice, sweet, smooth malt, and it just really hits the palate amazing.
For sure.
That's really I think I mentioned to you guys, we won best craft distiller whiskey with the John Shaw back in last year, 2021. At the San Francisco Spirits Competition. So I know you guys do mostly beer. The San Francisco Spirits Competition is essentially the equivalent of the Great American Beer Festival here in the United States. So when you win a big award at that one, it goes a long way. And it's because of the prestige, but also the judges they bring in there they're world renowned.
Well, I'm sure it feels pretty good when we tell you it's good, but that maybe is a little bit cooler.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Maybe a little bit.
It definitely had us on walking on clouds for a while. That's for sure. So
now, what does double gold mean? Because it says that you won double gold. Double gold seems like almost like triple stamp, double stamp kind of thing. Right?
A plus.
Yeah. Nice. Love the Harry and Lloyd reference. One of my favorites. So essentially that means if there were 15 judges for this category or 20 judges for that category, they rank it as gold, silver, bronze, or NA. That means every single judge gave it a gold as the highest.
Every single
judge.
Wow.
If every single judge gives you that, then you get the double gold. So that's how the distilling contests. That's how they process those.
That's
things.
really cool.
Yeah.
Unanimous decision, basically. That's
a
cool way to say unanimous decision.
It's a bummer. Like if one or two don't, then you miss out on the double gold. But if all of them get them, then it's double gold. So yeah. So
that's a big seller, right? That's a big thing to have on your.
Did it a couple years in a row. Yeah, that's kind of what it's for. It kind of grabs people's attention and kind of runs with it.
So they're blind tastings, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they don't even get the cool background and the history of all of it. That to me is almost as exciting as the delicious whiskey that we're drinking. Can you maybe pour me a small sip again and tell us a little bit about the story?
Will do. Let me finish pouring here.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm surprised at the level of sweetness because it's almost the first thing that hits my palate, and it sets the rest of the journey of the taste up properly.
I don't remember which one.
That one's mine.
There you go.
Not that it matters, but
so let me walk you through it. When we were coming up with names for the distillery, as we kind of wanted to obviously rebrand and kind of go our own way, a bunch of names came up, but then started talking about this old Wild West town up here, ghost town now. It was called Canyon Diablo. It was founded basically in 1880, and it was because the railroad tracks had made it to the Diablo Canyon about 20 miles east of Flagstaff. And at the time, the bridge that they had pre-manufactured wasn't long enough. So they had to have portions of it sent back east to essentially extend it. And in that time, a small hell on wheels town popped up, per se. And it was then named Canyon Diablo because it's right next to Diablo Canyon there. And about a year and a half later, the bridge was finished, or a year later. But for that 1 year or 2 years, some of the things that were rumored or folklore to have happened in Canyon Diablo were just incredible. Some of the folklore says that the first sheriff was signed in at like 9 a.m. and then buried at 3 p.m. that day. They had 3 or 4 more sheriffs or town marshals after, over the next few months, and one lasted 2 weeks, the next one a month, that kind of thing. So.
Rough town.
Yeah,
rough
essentially.
Town.
Basically, every over-the-top cowboy movie you've ever seen before.
Exactly. I mean, one of the quotes was that this town was more dangerous than Tombstone, Abilene, and Dodge City combined at the time. So, that folklore was amazing. But there's actually a true story that came out of Canyon Diablo. It was years later. It was about 25 years later, in 1905. A couple cowboys wandered into a saloon in Winslow, the Wickiup Saloon. They ordered shots of whiskey. They then turned around, and there was they saw a big poker game going on, tons of silver on the table. Well, they pulled their guns, robbed the poker game, and took off. So Winslow's about 40 miles east of Flagstaff. Canyon Diablo is 20 miles east, and then here's Flagstaff. Well, they made it to Canyon Diablo, and I guess the next morning the sheriff caught up with them, and a gunfight ensued, and the one gentleman ended up losing his life. His name was John Shaw. The next evening, the cowboys back in Winslow realized that those 2 cowboys, they never had their shots of whiskey. They left them sitting on the bar. So like 3 or 4 in the morning, they all hitch up, and they ride over to Canyon Diablo. They wake up the store owner, a mercantile store owner, and ask him for shovels. And well, this gentleman says, you know what? I have a camera. Will you take like a few pictures as well? So they dig this person up in the middle, first thing in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning, hold him up, and they give him his last shot of whiskey, and then they rebury him. And when I heard this story, I was like, that's a bunch of baloney, But there's actual pictures, and should I?
Yeah.
Please. That's it. Well, it's on the back of your book, on the back of the bottle as well.
Yep. But it starts with this picture is my favorite here. I don't know. Hold it up there.
I can bring it up there, actually.
Yeah. You can actually see them. They're holding them up, but if you look down there in the grass, you can see the bottle. So
for our video folks, take a look.
You see that little bottle down there in the grass?
Kind of hard to see on the camera, but it's right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the fact that they're, adding that extra verification, like, we definitely gave him some whiskey. So
now I wonder
for the audio listeners, it looks like Weekend at Bernie's, but dressed up in cowboy outfits.
It does. You can see like rigor mortis set in. His body's all sideways.
It's a little disturbing, yet also amazing.
Part of the story says that some of the cowboys were crying. They were so disturbed that they were so it kind of freaked out a couple of them for sure. So
now I don't know if you were ready for this level of questioning, but I'm about to hammer you with some questions about this story. Were they cowboys that he knew? Were they his friends, or was it like drunk, kind of like superstitious? Like, hey,
I think it's just drunk cowboys that were
let's
like,
go dig them up.
Middle of the night. They've been drinking all night, and they just, headed out of town of Winslow and decided to go dig them up.
They all look like they're having a pretty good time. Even John Shaw.
He gets
especially
reburied.
John Shaw. He looks the happiest of all.
He died. He got another shot of whiskey. I guess.
Well, it's cool too because there's terroir and there's story, right? And this has both of those. It has the mesquite, which is such a prolific Arizona plant. But also to be able to drink this and almost like look at that picture on the back of the bottle and reminisce about cowboys in Arizona 100 years ago. It's incredible.
Agreed. Like it just brought it together, and that's kind of how we settled on the name Canyon Diablo, because we knew that we wanted to get this story out and just share it with the world. Because as far as I know, it's the only person that's ever been dug up for the last shot of whiskey and had a picture taken of it. Unless you guys can tell me someone else, I've never found it. So I've been looking around too. So
that's pretty awesome.
Well, so where does it go from there, right? So you guys you decide to launch this new distillery,
correct?
Right? Did you already have this spot, or was it all kind of from scratch?
Everything was kind of from scratch. This actually was some of the old equipment. The folks that kind of took over the old one didn't want this equipment, and Dana put this equipment together. It's all old milk tanks and water tanks that have been welded and configured to essentially make whiskey. I think we might have the only open mash whiskey mash tun in the state, because most folks have mash tuns where they have the propeller that kicks the mash out. So we have to get up there with shovels and shovel out like a ton of mash every time that we make our batch of whiskeys. So yeah, it's a pretty unique setup we have in here. And then we just wanted to continue to grow it with some of the vodkas and the gin. The gin's one of my favorites. And then just see where it goes from there. And we're currently working on some rye whiskey as well, having some fun with that. But the goal is just to continue growing. Over the last 7 years, we've grown every year. Sans COVID, we just kind of broke even and stayed afloat. But
which is an accomplishment.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Just, and continuing to move forward with what we want to do. So, but the other story I wanted to tell you was the that Two Ghost bottle there. We have a Two Ghost vodka. Yeah. So Dana had done a chili pepper vodka, and
is this open? Can we try this?
Yeah. Go for it. Be very careful. It's one of the spiciest in the world. Okay. Yeah. So I told them, I'm like, let's do a ghost pepper vodka, and I throw one ghost pepper in there, and Dana walks up to me and he says, "Man, don't be a sissy. Let's put 2 in there." So we put 2 in there, and he didn't say sissy either. But
I didn't realize the ghost pepper is sitting at the top there.
Yeah, there are 2 ghost peppers in every bottle. So, and so I'm staring at it. I'm like, what are we going to call this? What are we going to call this? Pepper whiskey. And then it just kind of hit me. Let's call it Two Ghosts. That whole area out there where the Canyon Diablo is. There's the Two Guns area out by Diablo Canyon, the Twin Arrows, obviously Twin Arrows Casino. So the Two Ghosts just kind of flowed right in with that whole area as well. So
I love the whole thing, like the label and everything. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, you guys are gonna need some water. Don't drink all that.
He is very. I know that it's serious when he's like, whoa. He's okay with us, in here all like hopping around the equipment. He's like, do not F around with that stuff.
It's the kind of stuff. I had this at a festival this weekend, and I told the bartenders, I said, you spill any of that on your hands, wash your hands immediately, because you go touch your eyes. It's gonna hurt. Let's just put it that way.
I'm a little nervous now.
I am too. Yeah. We'll just have to wash it down with some of this next bottle we have.
Yeah, it's pink. It looks like it would soothe.
I am gonna grab my water bottle.
All right,
there you go. Smart man.
All right, so we got two ghosts. This is Bloody Mary. Go with the Bloody Mary.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So those peppers are smoked ghost peppers. So you kind of get like a chipotle flavor coming through when you put it in a Bloody Mary. And obviously you don't need any horseradish or hot sauce or anything else. It just lights you up. So
wow, immediately my lips are on fire.
Yeah.
And I just let it touch. Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of fits the whole theme of the Canyon Diablo, This is one of the deadliest, spiciest vodkas right there.
It doesn't even smell like it's going to be like blisteringly hot on the nose.
It literally touched my lips.
Yeah.
That's all I need them. But
I'm really nervous. Did you try it at all?
Yeah, I just let it touch my lips. This chili pepper flavored vodka is extremely spicy hot. Thoroughly wash your hands. Do not touch your eyes or body if spilled. Please use extreme caution.
Wow.
You don't see that very often.
No.
Wow.
Definitely disclaimer and a warning.
Did you let it hit your whole palate? I'm already sweating. In a minute here, I'm going to be dripping sweat.
Dude, that is hot.
Yeah. And these guys think I'm crazy because there's a Reaper pepper out of Carolina. It's called the Carolina Reaper. Yeah. And I'm like, how does that fits the Canyon Diablo theme? Let me do that. And they're like, no, we don't want any more peppers floating around this place. So
I tell you what, that flavor is good though. Like it's every cavity in my face is open right now. But
so the only pepper infusion is just the 2 peppers you put in there.
Just a couple, 2 ghost peppers. That's it.
It reminds me of a cocktail that I was at Eric's house recently, and we were enjoying just a nice Saturday evening with some pulled pork, and a jalapeno margarita was made, and it was
Nice.
Maybe as spicy as the finished cocktail, and there wasn't much of it drinking, as you could imagine.
My wife is usually really good at mixing cocktails. Yeah, it was a jalapeno, margarita with mezcal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. We need that water. And she never makes anything
I should have did
spicy.
that last, huh, Randy? Yeah, I got their palates ruined already. Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
I'm good. I'm just focusing. No.
I want to go back for more is the thing that I don't really understand about
It was
myself.
not as, it hit me hot super quick, but it's not as, like I'm not dying right now. Like it's hot, it's there. But anyway.
It's like a pleasant burn at this point, and it tasted very good. It had the peppery flavor and not just burning hot spice.
Mm-hmm.
We actually did a festival this weekend. We did it was like a spicy mango beverage.
Okay.
And so it had a little bit of mango, the two ghosts, and then our barrel aged gin. And very similar to a spicy margarita, and sour mix. So, but yeah, I do stuff with. Go for it.
There wasn't much left.
I got another one there. I brought another one out. So. We did an event with the NAU students a few years ago, and actually the spicy mango cocktail was the winning cocktail for that particular. It was like an HRM class, and they were doing like a cocktail contest. So
it'd be interesting to try it in like a mule as well, if you like really spicy mules.
Maybe
which I do.
A little splash in there.
Yeah, like one of those and then one of the normal one.
Yeah, you got to do half and half.
Yeah.
Can't do the whole thing. It'll kill you.
Probably will, actually.
Yeah, there are many fraternity boys around downtown Flagstaff have puked their guts out after having a shot of this.
Yeah?
Really?
There's kids that'll buy the shot for their buddy and not even tell them what it is.
Oh, man, I would be pissed.
Yeah. So I've heard the stories. So
this is another infusion you do as well.
Not an infusion. That one is a blended.
Okay.
So we're using a prickly pear flavor, and then our 6 times distilled gluten-free vodka, and just a really smooth vodka. That's actually an original as well. Dana was thought to be the first person ever to make a spirit with prickly pear in it.
Really?
That came out back in 2004, the original. This is kind of the reincarnation. That's kind of what launched a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of different prickly pears on the market now, but we maintain that this is the highest quality of them still.
Well, and fitting that it should come from a distillery so focused on the history.
Yeah. I mean, up here, it's Arizona, the Southwest, and we wanted to basically showcase the flavors of the area. So
Are you a local?
I am from Tucson, but I've been up here 25 years, so I'm pretty much a local now.
Yeah,
so.
A local of the region, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can smell it already. Just from pouring it, I can smell.
Yeah.
Dang, wow, that looks and smells like candy.
Yeah,
it really does.
Nice and smooth.
That is a beautiful, this is about not really my jam, right? Yeah. But you go to those clubs in Scottsdale that are loud and bumping. That would look beautiful up on the shelf.
Absolutely.
Vodka is in Cosmos, right?
Yeah, right? That's great.
You're
for
not
Cosmos.
a prickly pear Cosmo guy, Eric?
Well, I am. But,
I could see you drinking that.
Pinkies up, Eric? Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
You got the little thing in between your toenails getting like a manicure going on.
Nice.
Hey, man, if I got some of this, I'm in.
Cucumbers on the ice.
But yeah, that one's it's such a fun summer cocktail. I mean, that one you put in a little sour mix or just even a basic lemonade. And it is such a nice sipper, just that because you get that little added prickly pear flavor into your lemonade.
Sure.
And it's fun to drink. Even just a press, mix it with some lemon lime soda of some sort. You got a nice color to it, but just amazing flavor. So it's just a very easy mixing vodka.
When did he first make this? Do you know approximately?
I think the prickly pear came out in 2005 or 2004, the original, and then it's like I said, this is a reincarnation. So.
And then what about the single malt?
The single malt took a few years later to age after they produced it. Mm-hmm. I believe that hit the markets in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
And quickly sold out as the first ever whiskey released in the state of Arizona.
Wow.
And yeah, a few years later that they were kind of done, but I had tasted it, and then I got to meet Dana after And I said, man, can we get that whiskey going again? I'll get you going, man. I'm like, and so he's like, yeah. And he brought in Randy, and we all sat down, and I said, guys, let's do this. You know, I have a ton of F&B experience, and I want to do the whole spectrum eventually. And that's my plan. Right now I've got 3 kids that I'm coaching AYSO tomorrow morning. I've got baseball tonight, not really coaching tonight. I told the coach I was not going to be there tonight because I have a little fun. Yeah. I usually help coach. But I'm just a busy man. And once we get a couple years more down the road, you'll start, seeing some tasting rooms and stuff like that happening. So, but that's kind of how we got reincarnated and started. So.
What about with you were saying you were with your F&B experience? Like, sure. What is your background?
I've worked for Darden restaurants. I've worked for hotels, DoubleTrees, Hilton's. I'm doing a cafe right now just to kind of pay the bills. Yeah. As you know, this is completely how do you say in-house growth. We're not out there. There's just 3 owners. We don't have investors, and it's just all natural growth. And I think we've gone up 20% every year, except for sans COVID. And we've been having fun doing it, just coming up with new stuff. And, we're always, giving each other a hard time. As you could see, me and Randy get along pretty good, So, and Dana's always the one who kind of pokes and prods us even more. He's a jokester. So, but yeah, it's going well. And
he seems like a legend, Dana. In the I mean, you said the first person who used to do this and this.
You'd think he was, but he's a total introvert, which is why he's not here right now.
He knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah. So he's just like, you're the face, you do the talking. I'm like, come on. And every now and then I get him out, and he'll do something here and there. But he's a savant, and like when it comes to the distilling and the brewing, he just had done it for so many years, and he can tell you like, oh, this flavor's coming from this is coming from that. This is why this beer tastes too bitter. This is what happened. He truly is just a genius when it comes to this stuff. So
it's a good guy to have on your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about your gins a little bit.
So that's his favorite. Speaking of Dana, he took forever to craft that Desert Rain gin. And he wanted something that he could put into just a basic gin and tonic and really still get that gin flavor, but you just have an amazing overall finish to it. It is cardamom is one of the predominant flavors you'll find in there. Coriander, obviously juniper. Every gin has to have the juniper. I think we have Navajo tea in there, and there's a few other botanicals in there. Excuse me. There are 8 total botanicals in there. You'll find gins that have as few as 3 botanicals, and then there's some gins that have as many as 20 or 30 botanicals. So he wanted to keep it somewhat simple, not too complex, but just in a really, really fun flavor. Then we put this in summer cocktails. Yeah, go for it. So yeah, this weekend I had one. It was like a honeybee cocktail. It was like actually modeled after an ancient, older cocktail, the bee's knees, where it was just lemon juice, honey syrup, and gin, and that one was just really, really fun. So about 6,000 people enjoyed drinking that this weekend.
Yeah. Nice. Well, the art too, like the designs on these bottles are fantastic. First of all, I like the design of, of both styles, but this one particularly, like this longer, taller, heavy bottle, and then you put that art on top of it.
It feels like something that would have been in Canyon Diablo.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. John Shaw probably cracked somebody over the head with one of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his original gin was called Desert Dry Gin. Okay. Shortly after the original endeavor went under, somebody else came out with a Desert Dry Gin. And then another person in the state came out with a Desert Dry Gin. So then we're like, well, what are you going to call your gin now? I'm like, well, why don't you call it Desert Rain, man? And we'll do like the Monument Valley on there. And he's like, yep. So yeah, we got put Monument Valley. It's kind of the Monument Valley. The what do they call them? The mittens are on the front there. And then you've got kind of like the rain clouds coming in the background. And that tree in the front is a juniper tree because those are old, scraggly juniper trees out there. Although we don't use the juniper from those trees because it's incredibly bitter. But that's just kind of the irony of it, that gin is made from junipers. So that just kind of all fit that piece right there.
I love how you guys have this epic branding and storyline, and maybe it was more difficult to put together than you're making it seem, but it almost seems like you guys are just like, oh yeah, we'll do Two Ghosts, and it's like the perfect name for it. And
well,
Desert
after,
Rain,
it's just fun like that. He calls me a sissy. Well, he called me a pussy, but I was glad to throw another one in there. Like, all right, tough guy. And then they came with that name a little bit later, and then. Just the branding's been fun. We're having a good time with that. So
because it makes you feel like the time of Canyon Diablo, especially this bottle style. It looks like it would be at a bar then. Maybe not the fancy printed labels, but
I don't know, man.
They're doing like prickly pear vodkas back then.
That was an innovator there. That was an innovator for sure.
Who you guys think you guys are the first ones, but they were doing it way back then. Yeah,
prickly pear Pete back in the old stuff.
Fermenting it in old boots, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff.
So, no, I dig this gin. This is really good. Like, there's not a lot of gins that I have where I'm like, I can sip that.
This one also has a bit of a sweeter touch than a lot of the gins I've tried before. Some of them are just like straight medicinal flavor, and it can work out nice in a cocktail. But it's not the gin itself that I'm enjoying the most. It's the mixture of ingredients.
How it reacts with the lemon juice and the sour mix or whatever it might be that they're mixing it with. But this is definitely great for a martini. But then you just add a little tonic to it. It's a beautiful gin and tonic. So. That's Dana's go-to. He's a big gin guy. So
if you're looking for like an approachable gin, this would be my recommendation.
100%.
Yeah,
that's very smooth. Nice. Yeah,
yep. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of the cocktail bars will pick it up as their well here in town and down in Phoenix. It's because it's such a great flavor, and you can use it for the gin and tonics, but also for pretty much any of the other mixers, and you still get the flavor coming through.
One of my favorite spots to get a drink is the Parlor Pizzeria, and they do like a rotating Collins where they'll do like a watermelon mint or something like that. That is like the perfect gin for just a nice refreshing Collins like that. It sounds so good.
Would hit it. Awesome. Thank you.
The perfect summer cocktail in Arizona.
There you go. Boom. Nailed it. Where do you guys? Where can you find? Because we'll dig into a couple more of these, but where can people find?
So the liquor stores down throughout the valley, there's quite a few down there. Total Wine, Bevmo, and we are currently working on getting some sets down in Bashas', Safeway, Fry's, the big boys down there, working our way. And that's just baby steps. We've got a bunch of the supermarkets up here, how we do up here, and then kind of get down there. So we are like a micro distillery, so they want to make sure that we can kick out the product that they need. And we're confident we can kick it out, no problem. It's just a matter of convincing them. And in this business, for every little piece of shelf space, there's 10 competitors sometimes. So
which of your products do they carry at most of those spots?
Total Wine carries, I believe, all 5 of those.
Okay, really?
They don't. I don't think they have the John Shaw or the Clabberfoot, but they have all of the kind of our flagship stuff there. The
nice.
Gin, the vodka, the bourbon.
Total Wine does a pretty good job of highlighting local stuff.
They do. Yeah, I'm very appreciative of them. So they do a great job with that. So.
I feel like beer's a little tougher for them when you go. There's such a long line of craft beer, and there's a shelf life on that. Right? So sometimes Total Wine does a good job.
Even still with that though, I mean, you see a good amount of local brands. Everything from Cider Core, which isn't brands. Beer, but it's cool to see how many distilleries and breweries and whatnot are making it into Total Wine now, because that to me just signals more and more consumer understanding of how cool these brands are. Yeah. And not just the brands, but of course the beverage as well.
And there's so many folks that'll go there just for that specific reason. Like, hey, I'm going to go to Fry's, I'll get this and this, but then I'm going to go over here to get, this Arizona wine, this Arizona spirit, this Arizona beer that they might not find at their local grocery store. So.
Well, this isn't one that I realized how delicious your guys' stuff were, and I probably had seen it at Total Wine, but hadn't picked up a bottle before. But now this gin is the next visit I'm making there. I'm grabbing a bottle.
Well, you don't have to. I'm going to make sure you get one on the way out.
I'm trying to give people the message of going into Total Wine. Let me lay it down here.
For us cool people, we don't.
Nice.
But no, we appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about the Clabberfoot.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's another one that's probably our other line that is related to the Canyon Diablo name. Basically, we take our Desert Rain gin, pour it into one of our used John Shaw barrels, and we'll let it sit anywhere from 6 months to a year. And it's just an amazing concept. The gin soaks into the staves inside of the barrel, and then you start getting some of the notes of the toffee and the vanilla getting into the gin. Then when you pull it out, it just has a light hue to it. Not quite as dark as a whiskey, but somewhere in between. And it's just so much fun. But yeah, I just got the idea. We were at a liquor festival down in Chandler. They had a spirits festival down there for years. I don't know if COVID killed it, but hopefully it'll come back. There was a gentleman out of Colorado. He was doing it, and those festivals, we trade stuff, it gets kind of fun. And we're like, hey, what's this barrel-aged gin? Let me try that. And he's like, yeah, man. And we tried that, and I'm like, yep, we're doing that. It was so delicious, He just put it in that barrel and adding those barrel notes to that gin.
Who is this you said did that?
Proper barrel. It was like something... Distillery 48? Man, it was
not Blue Clover, is it?
No, it wasn't Blue Clover.
Somewhere here in Arizona?
It was actually got out of Colorado. It was for an Arizona show.
Okay.
And it was the only barrel-aged gin at that event. And I'm like, all right. And then I started tasting some other ones. I'm like, we got to do this. And so we did that. The flavor came out just, I love it to death. It's just, you get a little bit of the sweet from the gin, a little bit of the sassy from the whiskey in there, which kind of came to the name Clabberfoot. Clabberfoot is named after Clabberfoot Annie. The folklore of Canyon Diablos said that she was the most notorious of all the madams in Canyon Diablo. She was the fighter by day, beating up and rumored to have murdered one of the other madams, and then of course the lover by evening, making her money. And so we named this one after her. It could be all folklore and lies, but just the story alone just made me so happy, and it just fits the barrel-aged gin. Like you got the sweet and the sassy, and naming it after Clabberfoot Annie was the only way we could brand this, and that made sense to me.
I hope you guys do get a tasting room open soon, because if you just go down this list of bottles, the story behind them, the history, and of course they're fantastic as well. This is terrific.
Thank you, appreciate it very much.
Well, I mean, you get, and also just in the the short time we've been here, the history lesson between you and Randy of telling us stuff and showing us books. Like, there's not only is it cool stories, but there's visual collateral, like the visual things that you can show people. And I love, I have a beer name right here. We need to collaborate with you on a beer, and we're going to call it Red-Eyed and Juiced.
Red-Eyed and Juiced.
It's usually Red-Eyed and Juiced.
Red-eyed and
Annie wasn't
juiced.
above putting a bold into a rival.
Nice.
Red-Eyed and Juiced.
I'm not convinced that Randy isn't a time traveler from Canyon Diablo that has come to do this whole thing.
I think he is. He might be. We tease him. From time to time. That's for sure. So, yeah, Randy, we're talking about you out here, buddy.
Randy was the guy who stepped in front of the camera a little bit earlier to give us the water. So
if there's some weird Wild West time vortex, it would be in Arizona, I feel like, especially with Sedona down the road. You just never know.
Yeah. Well, it's
so many ghost towns.
It's been really. We've learned. I say in the past 2 weeks, like between Javelina Leap, when he was talking about Jerome and how it was one of the cities that kind of was the poster child for hey, we need to put prohibition into effect. Right? Look at what the hell's happening.
Debauchery.
Up here.
Is the perfect word.
And now to hear about Canyon Diablo, because I've heard of your guys' distillery, but I didn't know the stories of Canyon Diablo, and it solidifies my feeling that you got to be a badass to live in Arizona. Right? There's got to be some badassery about it.
Agreed.
Maybe a little more so back when people were having shootouts on the streets and things.
But, dude, sometimes when I get home, my air conditioning's at 76. Right? I said that thing is 74.
Heard.
My belt or my car seat buckle burned me pretty bad the other day.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah, you would have been buried on Hill Street back in the day, buddy, along with the other 36.
Yeah, right.
So no, this is a fantastic what you guys are doing here. I mean, I'm always a sucker for a story. I'm a sucker for marketing. You know, when you go into a place like Total Wine, you got to kind of, unless you know exactly what you're looking for, you are pulled in by the marketing. Yep. But I always get so excited when the product comes through, right? Where it's like, dude, not only is it cool branding, but it's cool, you know, because people are like, hey, dude, those bottles are awesome. I'm like, you know?
Exactly, right? Oh yeah, it's a $500 bottle, but it's $10 juice. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're all about quality, and it always will be that way for sure. So,
well, and I love the diversity of the products you have, right? You have some more cocktail oriented things. You have a fantastic single malt. Yeah. You've got the aged gin, which I think is one of my favorite spirits just because it is such a unique thing. I don't know if I would be sipping it every day, but when it tastes like this, maybe I will be sipping it on a daily basis.
Here and there for sure.
Exactly.
It is just fun. It's just, maybe you don't want that whiskey. Maybe, just a little gin. Maybe you're in between. Hey, have a barrel aged gin. It's kind of a mix of both.
Well, if you like whiskey and you don't not like gin, you're open to gin, you got to get a bottle of that because it's such a unique spirit experience. Yeah.
Agreed.
It's almost spiritual.
And these are hard to find. You go to a liquor store and you might find one or two barrel aged gins. And that's about it because most places won't carry them. A few of the high end places you get a barrel aged gin, like, oh yeah, it's over there in the corner, and it's just, and you find them, and some of them are just gems, and we just wanted to make sure ours was a gem as well. So I think we're one of only two in the state that are doing them. So, and
you got more barrels of John Shaw that you guys are wrapping up. Does that mean more of this coming too?
Absolutely, yeah,
fantastic.
Keep filling them up. That's that would be our second use. First use with the John Shaw, and second use with the gin. So,
I wonder if a beer on third use would taste terrific or just not really work out.
Well, I can tell you that a mead has been done. Our neighbors over here at the meadery did
drinking
one.
Horn.
With a second, like a third use on it.
I gave them one that had the John Shaw and then the gin, and then I also gave them one that just had the John Shaw. So they've had some fun with it.
Okay.
So,
if anybody's going to say hell yeah to anything, it's drinking.
I don't think I've tried any of their barrel aged stuff. Have you?
I don't know if I have. Yeah, they haven't probably been.
I think it went quick. It was called the Horn of Diablo, and it was just a limited batch, and it went pretty quick. So
what was the phrase you want to make a beer out of? Because that would have worked as well.
Oh yeah, red-eyed and juiced.
Nice.
Dude, I guess it's honey, but if they put like a little fruit in it, that would be perfect.
Well, or even like a hazy IPA, right? Yeah. Juice. Well, you're not going to age it. A lot of work to do here, but I think we're onto something. We're onto something. Yeah.
The third use.
You could definitely hit up some of our buddies at the breweries around town and get a barrel to them. They would love it.
In the spirit of all the first that you guys have done, it would be the first third use hazy IPA barrel aged beer that I've heard of,
mesquite whiskey barrel.
I feel like if anybody can figure out, it's Dana, right?
Dana. And we know all the brewers at Lumberyard and Mother Road and it's all the other guys in town.
Making it happen. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, awesome.
Sure. Absolutely. So we didn't even talk about the bourbon yet.
Yeah.
This one's pretty fun. It's a 75% corn bourbon, 20% malt, and then just the 5% on the rye, so not much rye. But this one is just such a nice, easy sipping bourbon. We do it at 84 proof. So just a little slightly hotter than, or not hotter, little slightly more proof than your basics that you're going to find on the market there, the Beams and the Jack Daniels. But just a really nice flavor to it. The fun part about this one is we got the name Grand Canyon. A little story behind that. We actually had to have a lawsuit with somebody over that to be able to use the name. We actually had used the name first, and then someone came after us. And anyhow, They doing their thing, we're doing our thing. But this is just an incredible high quality bourbon. And the part I love about it the most is that, once again, going back to telling the stories, is we took a picture out of the John Wesley Powell's memoirs. So John Wesley Powell was the first person to, in theory, navigate the Grand Canyon and then tell the story of the navigation and document it. But this picture, this sketch that's on the front of this bottle, actually, if you look closely enough, you almost have to get, for me, I'm older now, a magnifying glass. But the guy in the back of this boat only has half of an arm. So this is an actual sketch of John Wesley Powell going down the Colorado River.
Wow.
Because he had lost his half of his arm in the Civil War. And he went down in the 1870s down the river and lost his arm in the 1860s during the Civil War. But, yeah, just another piece of history that we pulled out, and we were able to use it because it was, document the National Park Zone, which is domain, and we were able to utilize it. But
that's
just
amazing.
love it. You
That's
can see
beautiful.
this old wooden boat going down the canyon. Imagine doing that this day and age. My God.
Like I said, man, I got burned by my seatbelt buckle today. So, no, I can't imagine it.
Can I see that bottle, or are you keeping that under wraps? Are we not allowed to taste that one?
And then look at the back of the bottle there. You could actually see
dude, that was his boat.
His chair. Look at it. It's like a captain's chair that's tied down. Look at that.
That looks like the turret station of like John Rambo's boat.
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Handcrafted out of things that he
Right.
found in the forest.
Dude, all right. So I don't know if you were really doing this, but this is what I think when I'm looking at this. Were you trying to zoom in?
I was.
Obviously,
I've had a couple too many of these little tasters right now.
Oh my God.
You know, the weird thing is when you zoomed in, it worked. Right?
I think it did, right? I magically saw
on
it.
that note, I'm going to pour some of this. Oh, man.
This is good times.
Joe, thanks for having us, man.
Hey,
This is
thanks for
great.
coming, guys. I enjoy this. This is probably the interview or TV bit I've enjoyed the most, because
Really?
sometimes I feel on the spot and the camera's shining on me and I'm just like, oh my God. And you got a reporter asking you really odd questions that obviously they didn't do their homework, and you're like, okay. And but no, this is great. You guys are in the industry and you appreciate it, you understand it. And so cheers, gentlemen.
Hey,
Thank
cheers,
you.
man.
Thank
Absolutely.
you for being here. So
Thanks for having us, man.
cheers.
And thank you to Meg from Discover Flagstaff.
Yes.
Huge
Meg
shout out to
Roederer,
her.
she's fantastic.
How do you say her last name? That's why I didn't say it.
Roederer.
Roederer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
With that said, if you're in town, go visit the Flagstaff Visitors Bureau. They have tons of resources doing all sorts of great stuff,
Yep.
like linking us up here and with other places as well.
Nice.
Yeah, she was like, all right. She goes, you guys have to. She's connected with a few places, and she was raving about you in this spot. So I'm so glad she. So Meg, here's
Cheers
to
to
you.
Meg, yeah.
You don't get a
Thanks,
drink at this moment, but Meg, if you're listening, grab a drink. Get yourself a bottle of the Grand Canyon bourbon. So okay. Excuse me. That was. I tried to turn away and I went right into it. Grand Canyon bourbon and Grand Canyon vodka.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just that is a 6 times distilled, gluten-free vodka. Smooth as can be. Made, gluten-free means it's made from corn, so it's a corn vodka. And if you're looking for something to make a martini out of, or just something to mix with, that's going to work for you. Okay. It's, I'm not going to say that it's a phenomenal vodka, but it is pretty darn tasty, and we love it. We put a wonderful picture of the confluence on there from the Grand Canyon, and then it's a clear label, so you have that blue in the background, so it just kind of gives it that sky look to it. So I mean, there's a million different vodkas out there. They're all pretty much taste the same. In my book,
I was gonna say,
I'm
if
a
you're
whiskey
drinking,
guy. Yeah, vodka doesn't do anything for me.
if you're drinking
So-
vodka, looking for like the most fine of vodkas, just probably drink gin. Yeah, drink something else.
Drink something that has some flavor, brother. Good. But to finish the line and the Grand Canyon theme there, we brought that out. Definitely went the gluten-free piece because so many folks are allergic to gluten, have the celiacs, plus it's the dietary needs and whatnot. But that one it'll take care of you. It's 80 proof, and it's smooth. It's smooth as can be. So
I gotta back up a second, because as we wrapped up with this, so I hadn't even tasted it. That's smooth. Like, that is a very smooth bourbon. Like, for 84 proof, and like, how old is it? Like, how long is that?
So it's aged anywhere from a year to 2 years.
Okay.
We can't call it straight bourbon, because a straight bourbon or any straight whiskey has to be aged at least 2 years in barrels. So it has kind of a accelerated aging process to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the flavor's there, and it's just yummy.
Usually you get...
My wife and I, like, the whole neighborhood will come over and hang out on the porch when they find out we start breaking out the whiskey.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, oh, yeah, hey, what's going on? You know?
I had a buddy of mine told me about a conversation he had with a distillery owner. Just randomly met this guy at a bar, and they're talking, and this guy's talking about how his whiskey's fresh. And my buddy's like, last thing I want is fresh whiskey.
Yeah, exactly.
I want that to sit a little bit, right? And
Got it.
a lot of times with I think the less time that it's sitting, tends to burn. It's harsh. That is not
Not one bit.
No, I mean, that
Nice.
is probably the best, like, I don't want to say young with bourbon, right? But however,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I agree. It's got a nice flavor to it. You know, and like, to your point, yeah, you get a cheap bourbon, and you feel that burn for sure.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, we make sure that it's a great product, you know,
Yeah.
coming out, and that you're going to enjoy it. You know, whether you're having it on the rocks or put it in a little bit of mixture, you know, it's
Or out of a
it's
plastic
quality.
cup. That
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Very impressed with that. All of these, man. Like, these are fantastic. And Randy, I know you don't want to be on camera, but we're going to call you out right now. Nice work, man. Nice work. Yeah. He laid the foundation with the stories, and we were drooling as we were watching the bottles. Now we get to taste them and hear the stories. So, yeah. Big fan of Canyon Diablo moving forward. For sure.
Cheers. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys.
It's
coming
always
here,
awesome when you get to come into a place and you're expecting good things because people have told you good stuff, but then you get to actually experience it like this.
Yeah.
Like, if you're listening and eventually the tasting room does open up, whenever that becomes a thing, you guys got to get there, because this is such a unique way to experience Arizona food and beverage, tied in with the history, and just a good time as well. You guys have been awesome and very hospitable having us, and we appreciate it so much.
We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much, man. It's just awesome to be able to share our stories and get it out there to the general public even more. You know, it's just so hard in this day and age to get your name out there, and appreciate what gentlemen like you do. You know, get the word out for us. You know, so
anytime you want to share some more stories over some glass of whiskey or some barrel-aged gin, you let us know. We'll be here.
Oh, there's plenty of stories that go on around here, man. I gave you some of the good ones. There's some other funny ones too. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we didn't even talk about the moles or anything.
The moles, or how Randy made me cut tile for 2 days straight. You know,
Thinking like they sell those at home.
or how we named our 30-year-old forklift Captain Ron. You know, so there's some good stuff, guys.
I think that we should have a series to the bottom of the bottle. We call that, right? So where we just tell drinks and. I've had enough, right? Tell stories until the bottle's gone was my point. But
definitely do that. Yeah. we can keep it rolling, man.
Awesome, guys. You know what? Real quick, I was going to ask one question. Are there any bars or cocktail places or anybody that kind of features or highlights Canyon Diablo?
So up here in Flagstaff, the Annex up here at Tourist Home.
Great folks over there.
You know, they're super high end. The Rendezvous as well. So basically the two highest end cocktail bars in town feature our stuff. Nice. And I know all those guys really well. And I mean, I would tell anybody that comes to Flagstaff, if you don't go to either of those two, you're missing out, because they're bartenders there. The knowledge they have, I mean. They're beyond career bartenders. They are just masters of the craft at either of those facilities, and they love that. They have a passion for making great cocktails, and they'll put our stuff into the cocktails. They'll put it in the wells. They'll have our Shaw around if you want to taste that as well. But anybody who wants to come up to Flagstaff, make sure you hit those two cocktail bars here in town.
Fantastic.
So they are the real deal. Everyone else in town, they're trying. So, and I love them. But I mean, just being honest, because those guys are just so phenomenal. You know, so appreciate them tremendously.
So, well, we just got into town, right? This was our start. So we're about to hit all those places.
Well, this bottle's empty here. We haven't got to the bottom of this bottle yet.
Man, there's a story right there. There's the bottom of the bottle story. Yeah.
Nice, love it, man.
Well, Luke's driving, so I'll keep drinking. So.
Yeah, and I will keep drinking water. I've got like 4 only sipped upon tasters over here, Eric, and I'm not going to tell you which one is the spicy vodka. You have to find out.
No, you guys should see my glasses are all empty except for that spicy vodka. Nice. Luke poured us 2 fingers of that.
I did not imagine it to snap to really get you that hard, but I still got perspiration running down from that one sip.
Yeah, makes me trust Randy even more. He told us how hot it was.
I actually saw a video, like a kid gave his buddy a shot of it and videoed him jumping up and down at the bar and going outside and puking. Videoed the whole thing.
That's like a good advertisement right there. Like if you talk about grabbing people's attention, I don't know how many it's going to sell, but it's going to grab their attention.
It's going to sell a lot. Yeah, it's going to sell a lot more than you would want.
It's pretty negative PR, but I'll take any PR at this point, right?
But those are the things that make you mad, right? We create content for a living. You guys sell product for a living. When you see somebody in your arena that does something and like blows up for something stupid,
exactly.
Right? Oh, that Distillery's famous because their shit blew up. The black wall of their building blew up, or
I just thought of this. You know how they have like the eat 50 wings, eat the 10-pound burger. You guys got to take 5 shots of the 2 Ghosts, and you can have the rest of the bottle for free.
Finish your shot. Oh, man.
Yeah, finish your shot.
I was actually at it was an event here in town, and we used to do the VIP tent, and it's actually the festival going on tomorrow, the Made in the Shade.
Yeah.
And I would do the VIP tent, and for every ticket, I'd give him a little half-ounce pour. And the guy, you get like 15 tickets in the VIP area. He probably used 10 of his tickets on the little half-ounce pour of 2 Ghosts. And I was like, bro, you got balls of fucking steel, man.
That dude's definitely got ulcers or something.
You're insane, man. And he's like, this stuff is so good. I'm like,
and then you never saw him at a festival.
Like, all right, you're going to be shitting fire tomorrow.
Jeez, balls of steel.
He just kept coming back for it. I'm like, you're a bigger man than me, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's impressive.
And pardon my French there, folks.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot worse on this show for
Has
sure.
it?
So,
okay.
It's just the truth, man. You can't hide from the truth.
Nice.
Well, guys, once again, thanks for having us in. This has been great, and I can't wait to share stories of this place.
Yeah, I'm just thoroughly impressed. I had such a good time talking with you and tasting everything. This is what we live for, man. This is why we do what we do. So it was such an honor.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna fill this thing back up.
Cheers.
Cheers.